Today I'm going to make a healthy chocolate chip nut butter cookie that does not have any sugar, does not have any flour, but it does use almond flour, pecans, coconut flour, and I use swerve as well as a granulated birch sugar. They come out really good. They're just like regular textured, kind of like almost like I would say an oat flour, type of cookie. So I'm going to go ahead and toast my pecans first. And here I go. Okay, I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. I'm about to put into this pan about a cup of pecans. I like them toasted, and then I chop them up. So right now I'm just going to toast them up. I think that's about right. So I'll be toasting these up, and then I will be chopping them into smaller pieces once they are all toasted. Now the reason why I like to toast my pecans is because it really intensifies the flavor. It makes it more of a robust, nuttier flavor. You gotta be careful. You don't want to burn them. So, because if you burn them, then you get a charcoal flavor, and that's no fun. But since I normally have these frozen, but today I had to open up a new package because I use these a lot in other recipes that I do that are also healthy. I make a pecan sandy that is absolutely delicious. It only has 6 ingredients. It's really, really good. So that'll be my next video. So right now, I'm just toasting. Yes, I use my fingers a lot. Don't worry, I wash them. So we're just getting that, oh, you can smell it now. It's got a really nice nutty flavor. Nutty smell, I should say. And you see that they're starting to get just a little bit darker brown. If you look at this one, it's a lot darker brown and hot than this one, let's say. This one is not quite as dark. So I'm going to continue to toast these, and then once they're done toasting, I'll put them over to the side to cool. Okay, so while the pecans are cooling, I have 2 eggs. I have coconut flour, which you are going to need. I have almond flour. I have Lily's dark chocolate chips, as well as the semi-sweet. I like to mix the two. I have birch sugar, granulated, as well as, let me see here, here's my swerve. I should have, oh, there we go. And then I have my swerve brown sugar. I have my pure vanilla, don't skimp. I have nutmeg that I'm going to grind into it. I have my salt. I have my baking powder. This one doesn't have any aluminum in it. I have baking soda. I have cinnamon. And I have my nut butter. So these are the things that I like to use when I make this particular recipe. I used to like to make the oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, but the oats are not good for you. So I had to come up with a different way of doing it, and by switching out the oats with coconut flour, it makes that same consistency without having those bad ingredients. So now my butter is softened. This is grass-fed butter. It's approximately 2 sticks of grass-fed butter. So I've put that in there. With that, I'm going to put my nut butter and my sugar. So hold on just a moment while I get those ready. Okay, so for the granulated birch sugar, I am going to put 3/4 of a cup. Now birch sugar is 1 for 1, so what you would normally put for your regular sugar, you can put for this. So I put that in there. Now I'm going to do the brown sugar, and it's also 3/4 cup. Okay, now I have my 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I'm putting that, and we have that there. And now I'm going to add about half a cup. I don't really measure, that's the problem. So I'm learning how to do measurements for people. So I'm going to put about half a cup of the nut butter in. So I'm going to take whatever's left in here because it's almost empty, and I'm going to put it in there, and we're going to mix it, beat it till it's nice and smooth and fluffy. Okay, now I have my half a cup. I had to go get another nut butter and put it in there. So we got a half a cup, and we're going to put that into our mixer here. And I'm going to put this down and get it in there because I can't do it. I'm my own cameraman, so hold on just a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start mixing. First on low. So I'm going to start mixing the butter, the nut butter, and the sugars together. I don't know if you have a KitchenAid, but it's wonderful. I love it. Now, if you notice the salt that I have over here, it's not one that you can get in the store. If you see on the Vitalife, I should give you a little background about me. I used to weigh 450 pounds, so I've lost a lot of weight. I tried diets my entire life. I've always been a chubby child. And, you know, I've tried every fad diet there was. I even had gastric bypass, and I only lost, at the time, 100, I think it was like 120 pounds maybe. And so I was still quite a bit. I was 330 pounds. So it wasn't successful for me. And I spent most of that time between 2003 and 2018 going up and down, up and down. I was very diabetic. I was on insulin. I was giving myself more and more insulin to the point where I had to give myself more insulin, which caused me to gain more weight. And because I gained more weight, I had to give myself more insulin. It was just a vicious, vicious cycle. And I was about ready to give up. I was feeling awful. I felt sick all the time. And I came across this program called Vitalife, which was developed by a man called Davis Jaspers. And I will be forever grateful for him. This program was the first program that actually worked for me. Within the first, 7 months, I lost 100 pounds. Yes, 100 pounds. And it was through intermittent fasting, kind of a keto-ish type diet. During those intermittent fasting, you would go 40 days. You would basically just have lean proteins, whether it be fish or beef or chicken or, you know, eggs. It had to be free range, organic, and lots and lots and lots of vegetables and 2 fruit per day. You would do this for 40 days. You would eat within an 8-hour window. And at first I didn't think I was going to be able to do it because, I had to have my breakfast. But actually, within 2 days, I was good. I could handle it. I wasn't hungry. And I was losing a lot of weight. That first 40 days, I lost 44 pounds. So I've kept with it. I've been with it for a little over a year. It's gotten really slow, the weight loss. I still have another 40 pounds I'd like to lose. But I am at a weight that I haven't weighed since I was 10. So I'm extremely excited. I went from a 4X down to a size X. And that to me is huge. I went from a size 28 clothing down to a size 16. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And some of the things that I've done to make things easier on me, because, you know, I do like my sweets from time to time, is I've learned how to cook healthy and still have the flavor. I promise you, these cookies are delicious. And you will be very, very happy, and you won't even realize you're not eating flour or sugar or any of those things. Now, I am using butter, but it's grass-fed butter. So I'm using the Kerrygold brand. So as you can see, it's getting nice and fluffy, light in color. I'm about ready to add my eggs and my vanilla, my salt, and the baking powder, which does not have aluminum in it, and baking soda. Okay, it is 2 tablespoons of vanilla, I love my vanilla, so I put a lot in. It is 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of the pink salt that I'm using. You can use Himalayan pink salt, you could use Mediterranean sea salt. Don't use the regular table salt, that is not good for you. It's better to go with an unmined type salt. They have a better, it's better for your health overall. It has the minerals that you need and is not overly processed. And then I'm also going to grate in a little bit of fresh nutmeg and put in some cinnamon. I put in maybe half a teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Okay, I now have my organic eggs in the mixer. I'm going to mix them in, blend them in, and I'm going to add my other ingredients that I told you. So there's 2 eggs in there. We're going to mix them in. Make sure they get mixed really well. Make sure to scrape down the sides too. I'm going to do that in a minute. Alright, so that's pretty well mixed. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my vanilla, my salt, my nutmeg, my baking powder. This one doesn't have any aluminum in it. My baking soda. And then I'm also going to put in the cinnamon. Okay? Okay, I have my cinnamon. I put a little bit in there. And then if you don't have one of these graters, I highly suggest that you get one. They're fantastic. And this is what I use to grate the nutmeg. Unfortunately, I'm one person doing this, so I cannot show you at the same time while holding this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grate just a little bit, by maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of fresh nutmeg. And I'm using a nutmeg that I've already, but this is basically how nutmeg looks before it's been ground. Oops, as you can tell, I have used this quite a bit, so I'm going to continue with that. Okay, I wish you could smell how wonderful that fresh nutmeg, but that's the fresh nutmeg that I've ground onto it. Oh my gosh, does it smell good. Oh, it almost reminds me of Christmas. But it is absolutely, smells wonderful. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my baking powder. Remember, it's 1 teaspoon baking powder. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of the baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, just to let you know, this is my 2nd tablespoon of vanilla that I'm putting in there, so that you know that 2 tablespoons of fresh vanilla. I love going to Costco because you get the best deal. Okay, I'm going to get 1 teaspoon. So we have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, which I put in there. I'll put this back. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So now I have my 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And that's in there. Put that over to the side. And now I'm going to do my 1 teaspoon of the pink salt. So we have the 1 teaspoon that goes in there. So I have all those ingredients. I'm going to mix now. And I will put down the sides soon, push down the sides and make sure everything gets incorporated well. Oh, I wish this had smell-o-vision. It smells absolutely delicious. You can smell the nuttiness from the nut butter. You can smell the beautiful sweet flavor of the vanilla and the wonderful sweet smell of the cinnamon and nutmeg. Okay. This is how it looks once it's been beaten pretty good. Now we're going to add 1/4 cup of coconut flour. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my coconut flour. That's my daughter's artwork. just so you can see. She's 10, but I think she did a fantastic job on that, don't you? All right, so I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup. So this is my 1/4 cup. So I've got a 1/4 cup of coconut flour. If you have organic coconut flour, that's best. We have organic here, non-GMO. That way you don't get all those nasty chemicals. And then a handy tip with the almond flour is when you're replacing flour with almond flour, you do the amount that you normally would have plus an extra 1/4 cup for each cup of flour that you would normally have. So for example, this particular recipe that I'm kind of using is based off of a chocolate chip recipe that I used to use, where I used 2 cups and a 1/4. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding in 2 cups plus another 1/2 cup plus another 1/4 and a half. So that would be, oh, I don't know what that would be, but not quite 1/2 cup extra. So so it would be a 1/4 with an 1/8. And then that way you put that in, you have the right mix, and then I can go ahead and add in my pecans and my chocolate chips. Okay, I now have the quantity of almond flour inside. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing it. It is quite full, but believe me, it is well worth the effort. Start out low so that you don't put it everywhere all over the place. And it incorporates quite nicely. So while that is mixing, I have my pecans cooled over here. Now some people like to put it in a plastic bag and cut them that way, chop them that way. I actually like to use a knife. Hold on just a minute. So I actually use a knife, and I like to chop them up. And so I just basically go through and chop up to this consistency that I like. And this can, you know, depends. You can get your frustration out this way. It's kind of nice. But I like to do this. Just be careful not to hurt your fingers. But you get it to the consistency that you want, and then you're going to add that into your mixture. It's nice to have little chunks here and there because it gives texture to the cookie. You can put it in a plastic bag and beat away. It's perfectly up to you. It's all personal preference and choice. I'll continue chopping. Okay, so this is about the consistency. Some pieces are bigger than others, but this is about the consistency that I like it. That way it gives you some crunch and surprises inside your cookie. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to our mixture that's been mixing since we've been over there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And I'm going to go ahead and add this in. Okay, I'm going to put down the phone so I can do it better. Okay, so I have a mixture of little tiny dark chocolate chips and the semi-chocolate, semi-sweet, and they are both made from Lily's, which is sweetened with stevia and not sugar. And so I'm going to go ahead and add it. It's about 3/4 of a cup, not quite a cup. I don't like a lot of chocolate because I'm kind of weird that way. If I were making these for my mom, I would have to put a bit more chocolate. Okay, so I use a handy dandy scoop. This is kind of a medium size, about maybe an inch and a half in diameter. This is the consistency. I have silicone pads here, and I have parchment paper here because my other silicone doesn't quite fit, and this is kind of softer than usual because it's kind of warm and humid outside. So I know it's going to melt and I don't want it to run into each other. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to get about 1 scoop and I'm going to put it there. Okay, I put about 3 per 3 per side, or 3 per line. And that way it gives me enough, they have enough room to spread out. And so I'm going to continue to do this. My oven is preheated, you can see here, to 350 degrees. And they will cook for approximately 11 to 12 minutes. Okay, so I have the first set of 12 ready to go. To save you time, this is how they come out. They look just like a regular cookie, and they taste absolutely divine. Hope that you try this recipe and let me know what you think of it. My name is Ann-Alissa, and I'm just a person who loves to cook. I like to cook all kinds of things, so I'm hoping to do more recipes for you in the future. Just let me know if you like them. Remember, they cook for about 12 minutes until they're about golden brown. Let them cool before you eat them. Enjoy.